Okay, this is Jared and Lincoln go to the movies.
Take one.
Take that.
Take one. Do you want to do the intro? Because this is kind of your baby. Well, was that it?
I knew you were gonna. No, fuck no. I'm not. No, I'm not introducing it like that. Fuck that. Are you kidding me?
All right.
No. I just gotta make sure I don't have like water in my mustache while I'm spitting water. Like
I find okay, this is off topic, but like every time I go to the gym now, by the time I leave, I always get cavemen, like without fail. I don't know what it is about the exertion, but I always have boogers when I leave the gym.
Oh,
I don't.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Anyway, irrelevant.
Fair enough. All right. So this is welcome to the Blue Room. This is the Blue Room presents Jared and Lincoln Go to the Movies.
I'm Jared.
This is Jared. It's my. I don't know.
I don't know.
Fuck it.
Brother from another mother. Seems too dated at this point.
Yeah. So, as you can see on the now playing board, we're going to talk about Captain Marvel. Now, when did you go? On Friday?
I went on Friday. You just came back from it.
Literally just got home from seeing it because I knew that was our talking point today, and I've forced some time into my schedule to be able to talk about it, and boy, do I have things to say about this.
That's right. So this will all be fresh for you. You might have to
No, it's going to be incredibly fresh and
dripping in it. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
Right on point. So first, the first thing I want to talk about, right from the opening seconds, with that brand new Marvel opening, the Marvel Studios opening, where every image is Stan Lee.
Oh, that was great.
Oh, it was fucking wonderful, and what a heartfelt fucking thing to honor that dude, right? And then right after that, just they put the dude in memoriam right at the top.
Absolutely.
Which I thought was wonderful. What a wonder, and especially because he created it all. So
as soon as I saw it, my reaction was very classy.
Goosebumps for me. I was
very
like,
classy.
oh shit! I was not prepared for that because losing Stan Lee was hard for everyone.
Well, and you knew going into it they were going to do something.
100%.
Do you know what I mean?
And we knew going in that not only was he going to have a cameo in that movie, which we'll get to, that he also had the cameo in Into the Spider-Verse.
He did.
And as well, he also has a cameo in Endgame. Yes. Avengers Endgame, which I read today because I was curious. I wanted to know whether or not that was his last cameo or if he had another one coming.
And what did you find? Because I feel like I read something that he filmed a few, but Endgame is his last one.
As far as I know, Kevin Feige has said that there's for sure a Stan Lee cameo in Avengers Endgame. Beyond that, I'm not really sure. Yeah. Realistically, they already know because they're going into Phase 4 now. After Endgame, right, I think it's Phase 4. Yeah. So realistically, they should know. They're not shooting any of those movies yet that we know of. Yeah. But they would have a rough idea of where they're going. So it's
and it feels kind of especially with Endgame, it feels like a fitting kind of chapter to end it on. If that is the Stan Lee one, to kind of end it there. There's this huge overarching story that's all been culminating to this, and I'm assuming we'll be springboarding from there into new stories.
Right. So if that winds up being Stan Lee's last cameo, that is a very fitting Endgame for him.
Yeah, I agree. I see what you did there.
So before we really jump into the big piece about the movie and talking about that and stuff, I really, and seeing as how we're talking about Stan Lee, I just need to talk about that cameo,
right,
in Captain Marvel, because
I think before we continue, we didn't discuss before filming whether this is a spoiler-free review or not.
Oh yeah, by the way, spoilers if you have
we are going full spoiler.
Well, not full spoiler, but for this specific cameo, I can't.
You got to talk about it.
I have to talk about it because I have to, because there's a lot about that specific cameo that means a lot to me.
As a Kevin Smith fan.
Oh, you stole my thunder, man.
Oh,
so no, it's fine. So going into the movie, I knew that there was a Kevin Smith reference in the film. Didn't know what it was. Didn't look up what it was. Didn't watch Kevin Smith's reaction video until actually like an hour ago when I got home. And so I knew.
I should watch that when I get home too.
You should.
I will.
It's wonderful.
Okay.
It's wonderful. And he actually like keeps himself from like he gets teary-eyed like a couple times, but he does hold it together. His Instagram photo where he's like full on tears and like and it's just like, oh man, I was like, when I saw that I was like, I cannot wait to see how they reference him and like what they do. So going in, I had no idea. So spoilers for those of you who haven't seen it. The cameo is.
We're gonna cut this for the end of the video.
Are we?
Just talk about it and we'll put it at the end.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
So yeah. The cameo is Stan Lee is so
he's on a bus.
He's on a train.
Sorry, train.
He's on a train.
Yeah.
So I know.
I saw
pressure in my head.
Yeah.
And so Brie Larson is chasing after one of the Skrull, and they're now on like the LRT system in LA, and the Skrull's kind of morphed into like somebody on the bus, and she's trying to figure out who it is. She's walking by, and there's this voice, Stan Lee's voice, and he's reciting this like this line from a movie that's like I can't remember. It's something True Believer, like, or Stay Positive, True Believer, something like that.
Very simple line, yeah.
I was so like once I had seen what happened, I just like for the rest of the movie, that's all I could think about. Literally, like it pulled me out of the movie in the best way possible, but also sucked me in so hard. So Stan Lee's sitting there and he's reading the script to Mallrats because the movie's set in 1995. So he's sitting on this train reading the script to Mallrats, essentially probably going to film his cameo in that movie. So he's doing a cameo about, or he's doing in his cameo, it's just a cameo.
He's imitating his own.
Exactly.
His
It's
own
a cameo within a cameo.
Yeah.
So I like, dude, honestly, I've never had goosebumps. I still get goosebumps when I talk about it.
Yeah.
I've never had goosebumps for as long as I've never had that in my entire life. It lasted for at least 5 minutes. I was just tingling for so long because that was such a wonderful. That was wonderful.
It was a lot packed into one moment. And
so much.
I think what kind of added to the scene was, Captain Marvel's kind of reaction to seeing him. It was kind of fourth wall breaking in it, not literally where she looks at the camera like in the sense that she just kind of smiles and nods at him like, and like we all kind of felt that in the theater. Do you know what I mean?
Like, for sure.
And I thought it was appropriate.
A wink.
Yeah, it was kind of like
Mallrats. Am I right? Like.
Yeah, I thought it was really well done, and for that this movie gets an A. No, I'm kidding. That's not why. But it was great.
For me, it's my favorite Stan Lee cameo in all of the Marvel movies. As if you can't tell, I'm a big Kevin Smith fan, and so
I'm just learning this now.
I'm a massive Kevin Smith fan. Fuck. But the specific reason why it being the Mallrats script, because I love all of his movies, right? Clerks and Red State, even Tusk. I'm 100% Walrus, yes.
Yo, Tusk is another video, man.
We'll touch it. Yeah, we'll do Tusk.
We're gonna talk Tusk for sure.
But like, Mallrats is the movie that is what introduced me to Kevin Smith. So my older brother was not a Kevin Smith fan, but he in a sense was, but he was more of a Mallrats fan. And so when I think I was like 12 or like, this is going many, many years back. He hanging out at his house, just chilling. And back in the days of VHS was just like, let's watch a movie or like whatever. And I was like, all right, cool. And he's like, I want to put on one of my favorite movies. It's called Mallrats. And I was like, all right. And we got like half an hour. And this is the first time I ever watched Mallrats. We got half an hour into it. And I was like, I'm bored, man. Can we do something else? Yeah. So we turned it off and we just play video games or whatever. So the first time I ever watched Mallrats, I got bored and wanted him to turn it off. Yeah. And then I think it was probably like maybe a year, maybe maybe more, maybe less. I can't remember exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Where it was like, all right, let's try that. Let's try that movie again, because I think by that point I had seen Clerks and I was like, oh, who's this Kevin Smith guy?
Revisit. Yeah.
Totally. So it was like, all right, let's watch this Mallrats movie. And this time it wasn't like, oh shit, I'm bored, let's turn it on. It was like, holy crap, this movie's amazing. It's so funny. And so, no, I guess I hadn't seen Clerks because that Mallrats was the first. I guess Mallrats was the first Kevin Smith movie that I fell in love with, and it's because of that I fell into Clerks and all. Yeah. My brother hadn't even seen Clerks. The only one he had seen up to that point was, and like, you know, and I just kept. That's the way I do it though. Is like, I find a director that I love, and then I just fall into their entire body of work.
Yep.
So that's why it being the Mallrats script in this movie meant so much to me specifically.
Place. Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna embarrass myself right now. I'll tell you, I don't really remember Mallrats that well.
That's fair. We'll watch it right after we're done this.
All right, we will.
I'm gonna force you to watch it. Yeah. I have the DVD, the Blu-ray, the VHS. We'll put it on
the torrent as well.
No, no, I don't have that. I don't have the torrent.
Disrespect Kevin Smith like that.
Yeah, no. I pay for all the Kevin Smith stuff. But yeah, so that's why that specific Stan Lee cameo was important to me. And in my mind, I was like, well, if that's the last one, I'm like, that's the best one. That's so as good as it's gonna get. I don't know if necessarily everyone would agree with me on that, but I don't know. I don't care. It was the best one in my opinion. So let's get into the
Captain Marvel.
The actual movie. What I remember of it after that.
And we haven't discussed this before, so I literally do not know what you thought of this.
No.
So we're kind of finding this out together.
We'll discover that.
So I'm gonna come out and say it.
Oh, you're just gonna
I'm just gonna come out and just say how I felt about it as a whole.
Off the top.
Right. And then we'll kind of dive into why.
Okay.
If you're cool with that.
Yeah. Yeah, because I want to hear what you think.
It was spectacularly mediocre.
Okay.
I kind of left it just like, it was a nice placeholder, and I understand Marvel needing to have an ace up their sleeve for Thanos, kind of moving forward. And to kind of quote, I don't want to say quote, but I obviously discussed this with another friend of mine, and his name's Michael. Just in case you're watching, I'm not stealing this from you. I'm crediting you right now. One of his opinions was that he felt like there was like too many cooks in the kitchen when it came to the script. It kind of felt a little muddled. Some of the pacing was a bit off, and I have to agree with that. I kind of found in the middle section, I was like, okay, where is this going? So, I mean, and it hit all the right points. Do you know what I mean? Of all the Marvel origin movies.
It does.
You know, like introducing your character. And, you know, actually, one thing I'm really glad they didn't do, now I'm thinking about this, is do the classic, what it was, Iron Man, where it's like villain with the same power, just
evenly
matched, and then you lose the first time and you win the second time. It's like, all right, cool, kind of play it by numbers, but average is how I felt.
Yep.
Well, let's.
Are you? Well, let me ask you this: are you familiar with Captain Marvel, like from the comics? Like,
no.
Neither am I. So, not knowing anything about Captain Marvel going in, actually made this a fairly entertaining movie for me. There were some plot points that I genuinely didn't see coming because, and it's funny looking back on it where I'm like, well, okay, the evidence was all right there in front of you. So you should have seen it coming. Yet at the same time, I didn't let myself kind of fall. I didn't let myself fall into that trap. I try not to do that with movies anymore. I just kind of let it be what it is and let it like try to be as entertained by it as I possibly can and try to find everything good about it. So for me, Captain Marvel, there was a lot more good than there was bad.
Fair enough. Yep.
And there were actually some pretty surprising moments where if you're not familiar with that character at all, it's like, oh, I didn't see that coming, and that's actually kind of a rad direction to go with it. So I wouldn't call it mediocre.
Okay.
I'd put it up there. Well, no, I'm not going to compare it to any of the other Marvel movies. It's like nothing beats Iron Man 2 or like Spider-Man Homecoming, because Spider-Man Homecoming is
it's amazing,
fantastic.
Yeah.
That movie is fantastic, and I cannot wait for the next one. Like,
yeah,
I genuinely went into Spider-Man, like, we can talk about that later, but I went into Spider-Man Homecoming no expectations, because I was kind of over, like, at that point I was kind of over the whole MCU thing, and genuinely didn't know where they were going with it, and kind of
we had a bit of fatigue with Spider-Man in general too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
As with the Andrew Garfield series that got canceled, and then so it was kind of like, oh, okay, like I don't really know how they're fitting this into the MCU, but all right, let's see what they're doing, and it delivers. That movie delivers, and then you go into, for me, what got me back into it is Infinity War, where like I had seen every movie, over the course of the 10 years, but didn't follow it to the point where it was like I understood what was going on. So I saw Infinity War, and there were a lot of holes for me where I was like, okay, I should understand why this is happening, and this, because everybody's in that movie. But I didn't, there were certain things where I wasn't really clear on why they were happening. So after I saw Infinity War, I went back and I rewatched all of the movies from start to finish in like a weekend. It was crazy. But I was like, okay, Infinity War dragged me back in, but I need to like go back and rewatch all of them and watch the after credit scenes and like really figure out what's going on here.
Yeah.
So it's really nice seeing that come full circle with Captain Marvel, with like the Tesseract cube. Spoiler. I don't know if that's a spoiler, actually. I don't think the Tesseract, honestly, because the Tesseract cube's in like, it's at the very beginning, so that's where where I'm like, okay, that's why Captain Marvel isn't mediocre to me, because it's like it's their way of kind of,
connecting everything.
Yeah, connecting everything, and connecting it to Endgame in such a way that like, it's like, okay, like she's clearly, you're right, the ace in the hole, ace up their sleeve for dealing with Thanos and all that, and like but I'm genuinely okay with that, because it's like, at the end of the day, I was entertained. I've been entertained by every movie. Yes, there was a little bit of fatigue, but I still, at the end of the day, I can appreciate the accomplishment that what they've accomplished. Like, it's so impressive.
The way they planned this out is spectacular. I mean, 10 years in the making. Do you know what I mean? And like, you have to think, like, how long have they had that story? I mean, obviously they're basing it off comics, but like, how long have they been? Has Kevin Feige been? Is it Feige?
It's Feige.
Oh, sorry, Kevin. Like, they've been planning this for so long. I have to admit, that is insanely impressive how they tied it all together. And you mentioning the Infinity Stone, I feel like that's not a spoiler to anybody.
The Tesseract cube.
Sorry, because which is an Infinity Stone.
Is it an Infinity Stone?
Isn't the Tesseract? Doesn't you break it in? Motherfucker breaks it in one of the movies.
Does
it? Thanos breaks it.
Oh,
he breaks it in the beginning of Infinity War.
Is it on the ship?
Loki hands it to him. Remember?
Oh, right, because Loki had the Tesseract cube. Oh, okay, so right, so okay, again, that's where I'm like, okay, but that's where the Tesseract cube came from. So that's another way I'm like, oh, that's how the Tesseract cube got created. Right? Like, not even what a twist. What a twist. No, it's not even like what a twist. It's just like, it's like this genuine, like, oh my god, that's where it came from. So I'm kind of like, it makes me more excited for like,
there were some neat revelations.
For sure.
I would agree with that, for sure.
Am I helping you like the movie a little bit more?
I mean, maybe.
I mean, if not, that's fine.
I feel like we should have gone together, and then you would have got me hyped on it on the way out. This is the lesson learned here. We can't do this.
We got it. Well, that's the thing.
Everything has to be the same.
Yes.
And then, we'll figure that out. But mentioning like the Tesseract or any Infinity Stone, I don't think is a spoiler. No, I think like it's to be expected at this point that that's going to be mentioned in any Marvel movie,
right?
Up until this point,
right?
Do you know what I mean? That's been the whole
totally
Endgame, literally. It sucks that they used the only pun.
I know. So for me as well, the aesthetic of the movie being set in the mid 90s is another like kind of a treat for me, because there's so many films about the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, even with, okay, like speaking more specifically, like with the going from X-Men First Class and forward. So each of those movies, like First Class was set in the 60s. The names are escaping me, but you know what I mean, right?
Days of Future Past, but that was
that one was the 70. Was Days of Future Past 70?
It was like Future.
One of them. Yeah, but they went 60s, 70s, and they've done the 80s. Yes, they did. Yeah, because Apocalypse is the 80s. So Days of Future Past is 70s. Apocalypse is the 80s. So I'm really hoping that Dark Phoenix is the 90s. I think it is.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you right now, Apocalypse takes up zero memory in my brain.
Same.
Completely forgettable.
Same. So. But it's like watching, I don't know. I remember you remember the past so fondly. I was reading something about this, like you remember the past better than it is, yet even though the future is actually, like, the present isn't as bad as everybody thinks it is, and the future, like, it's just the fear of the unknown about the future, and everybody thinks the future is going to be, like, horrible, but it's like, you're really fond of, I don't know, I'm fucking up the analogy, but that's
I
fine.
Understand what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying.
You remember it better than it probably was. I think, like, I feel like there's maybe, like, a sense of control and looking back, and, like,
for sure,
you know, nothing changed, and it kind of happened the way it did. Yeah.
So, some of my, like, I used to work in a video store.
Which one?
I worked at Blockbuster.
Yeah.
I got fired from Blockbuster, actually.
Yeah!
Yeah, right?
Did you get fired for stealing?
No!
Oh.
I got fired. Did you? Did you work at Blockbuster?
What's the statute of limitations here? I got arrested.
What?
Yeah, we can talk about that another time.
Whoa!
Yeah,
we'll
okay. Talk about that another time.
Getting arrested at Blockbuster video store story coming up at some point. No, I worked at Blockbuster. I worked there for a little while, but, like, I was at home and, like, didn't want to go in for my shift, or I called in sick, and then, like, the next time I went in, they were like, yeah, you're fired. Like, it was, like, super, like, bullshit. Like, and I was, like, a kid, so I was, like, super bummed, because I was like, I don't get to work at your, like, corporate video store anymore.
Yeah.
But then I started working at like, the local video store in, like, the town I lived.
Was it, like, one of those ones, like, a hybrid of, like, a convenience store?
No, it was straight up. It was just video.
Okay.
Which was awesome, because the well, I mean, we had snacks and, like, all that stuff, of course. But, like, the convenient, like, no, it wasn't like Clerks. I mean, that's the thing. I've worked in a convenience store and a video store separately.
It wasn't that.
But it wasn't like Quick Stop and RST where they were, like, right next to each other.
Okay, yeah.
So, no, I worked at, like, the local. I also got fired from there too, and that. Oh man, I got fired from both video stores I worked at, and that the second one hurt a lot more, and it was completely my fault. 'Cause, like, the store opened at noon. And I think I, like, slept in, like, noon, dude.
Something only a teenager could do.
Right?
Of course. Yeah.
And I think my boss called me at, like, 12:45, and I was like, hello? And she's like, where are you? Like, people are trying to get into the store. And I was like, I'm on my way to work. I'll be right there. And I, like, went.
Bitch, you walk.
I went, and I mean, like, I did not live that far from the store. I got to work.
You never do when you're a teenager.
Yeah, and I, like, finished out the shift, and then, like, the next day, I was hanging out with my friends, and she called me, and she's like, yeah, so
this isn't working.
I think we're gonna, and I worked there for a long time. Like, it was a while. Like, that was, like, I think it was almost a year into working there, and she's like, yeah, I'm gonna have to let you go.
Do they give teenagers severance?
Hell no. You don't get severance from a video store. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And, like, no.
No.
It would have been like, here's a copy of, like,
it's like 10 free rentals on your way out. Like,
not even. It would have been like, here's your free copy of, like, Joanna Man. May you watch it in when you're, you know.
That's hilarious.
Watch it every night when you're staying up late and sleeping in for work at noon.
That's hilarious. 12:45.
It was bad.
I
felt so stupid, and my friends made me feel so dumb for doing that. They're like, dude, come on, like, you have the easy. I would literally sit at work on my laptop, put movies on the TVs, and just, like, chill on my laptop, and then, like, you know, put the little yellow security things in, like, returns, and, like, put them back on the shelf. Like, it was the easiest job in the world.
I loved it. I loved working there.
But it was better than Blockbuster because it wasn't corporate. Blockbuster was, like, super. It was still a fun job, and, like, I liked working there.
Talk about movies all day.
Exactly. But it wasn't. It was kind of shitty and corporate. Although I do still miss the hell out of video stores and Blockbuster and all. We were driving through. Where were we? We were on a road trip somewhere, and this like small town. I think we were heading out west somewhere, like on our way to. I think we were in BC.
Revelstoke.
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't think it was Revelstoke, but anyway, it was.
Let me have it. Revelstoke.
All right. Yeah, you can have it. So, small town, and they had a video store, just like this random run of the mill like middle of nowhere video store, and I was like, babe, I like pulled over and I was like, babe, we gotta go in there, and she's like, why, like.
The nostalgia.
And I was like, but yeah, for the nostalgic reasons. And she's like, that's so stupid. Like,
you're so stupid. I hope you said that.
I didn't. I thought it, but I didn't say it. I probably did. Okay. But,
that's why we're filming in a fucking basement.
Right? Yeah. Fuck. So, yeah, like went in there and was just like, oh my god, the majesty of like a video store. And it's like, I'm not gonna rent anything. The person behind the counter is just like, why is
You're
this?
just there for the
I'm
experience.
literally just like walking around. And I think she like went. There was like a like an IDA or like a some store or something like next door. And she's
some
like,
chain grocery store that's not really a chain anymore.
Yeah, she's like, I'm gonna go in here, or like a pharmacy or something. So I'm gonna go.
Can
in.
you lock up when you leave?
Yeah,
that kind of small store.
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
And I was like, well, I'm gonna go in the video store, and like. It made me kind of sad because I was like, like we're not gonna like, if I ever have kids, like they're not gonna get to experience that.
Bygone era.
Yeah, and it's, I had like a lot of really fun times working in a video store and.
I agree.
So I guess I don't know. That's my long-winded way of saying that like the
90s nostalgia. I have a story about Blockbuster I really want to tell really quickly.
Of course.
If you're cool with that. Back when Paranormal Activity came out, so I don't know what year this was.
2003, something like that.
Okay, well, this is when Paranormal Activity had just hit like home release, so it's now available at Blockbuster. I remember this one dude came in, and he was like so mad. He brought it back, and he's like, "This was like somebody's home movie." I'm like, well, that's the whole point. You're dumb. And he was so he wouldn't drop it. I'm like, that was the whole point. That's the whole setup of the movie and how they sell you on it. People are dumb. This is what I'm getting at. Paranormal 2 was great though. All of them.
Really?
The first one? Oh yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Oh,
I mean the concept. I mean, oh man, we're getting sidetracked from
Captain Marvel.
But
the reason we're all here.
Paranormal Activity is terrible. Anyway, it's the concept's great. The execution was not my favorite. I mean, the first one's fine, and then it's everything else that comes after it that sullies it. Where I'm just like, wow, like you're just.
Yeah, they beat it.
It's like horse. I mean, but I like the Saw series more than I like. I'm glad they didn't do that with the Blair Witch. I mean, we got Blair Witch, and then with Blair Witch 2, and I guess they remade. Did they do like a reboot or something? There was a
Blair Witch project, then Blair Witch like Book of Shadows.
That's 2.
Which is 2, and then they just made they made another one.
Right.
Just called Blair Witch.
Okay. Well, that's another one that I'm really glad that they didn't like run into the ground.
Oh, I agree.
Although you recently were like Jigsaw.
Oh, 100%.
Fair enough. I still haven't watched
Garbage.
it. I'm not going to watch it. Okay, Captain Marvel. The aesthetic of, like, they really brought the 90s alive in the movie. Mm-hmm. And the only thing I don't like about it is that it just, like, it doesn't, it's like, yeah, okay, cool, it's the 90s, but it doesn't have that, like, OJ vibe and that, like, you know what I mean? Like, it still feels like it's now. Like, it
You're right.
It still felt very, like, set in the present. And that, while I loved, like, some of the sets and the aesthetic that they did and really drive, there was so much more. And the music, the soundtrack to that movie is great. But I still feel like there's more they could have done to drive home that, like, this is 1995.
Right, I agree. I'm actually kind of on the fence about that, and to the point where, like, I like that they set you in that world. They go pretty on the nose, like, oh, I'm in a Blockbuster, I'm gonna shoot a True Lies poster. I kind of like they didn't try to go overboard with like all these 90s references. I think a more, I don't even know who directed this movie. I think it was 2 people.
Yeah, it was like, yeah, Ryan.
2 people.
I can't remember their names.
I think in the hands of
we should probably look that up.
Yeah, do that.
But go on. No, keep talking.
We need like our own Jamie. Like, we're not there yet. You know, Joe Rogan.
We'll get one.
Jamie. Oh, we will?
Yeah, we'll get a Jamie.
Pull that up.
Jamie?
I feel like in the hands of a lesser director, like they would have been more on the nose and like thrown more, what's the word I'm thinking of? Like references at us. Do you know what I mean? The fact that we're in the 90s. Do you remember this? Do you remember Trolls?
See, but I kind of wanted that though. That's just me though. I can see Anna Boden and Ryan Fleck directed it. I see what you mean.
I think it could have. I think it easily could have got away from them in like being like, oh, it's the 90s. Let's try and make it.
Oh my God, Pogs.
Fun.
Yeah,
I could have done with the Pogs reference. Now that you mentioned that would have been.
You see my point, right? And then it's just like you have people drinking Orbit.
Stop trying to convince me to like this movie.
Right, like, and riding razor scooters. And I don't know if we had razor scooters in 1995. We must have.
Oh man, if somebody tried to take a selfie with Captain Marvel with a Game Boy camera.
But see, there was a Game Boy reference because she goes into Radio Shack and they're like, the Radio Shack was like 90s to the T, right? Yeah. That giant Game Boy case thing and display. Like, I do still feel there could have been more.
You wanted more.
You just
got a taste of it.
I don't think there was one single TV playing 90s commercials in the whole movie. Most movies.
Maybe that's in the
do you know what I mean though?
Yeah.
Most movies would like have a TV playing in the background with like an old news report, like OJ's running from the cops, or like old McDonald's commercials, or like the Happy Meal, like the little chicken nugget toys, like whatever, like something like that. And they did not have one single TV playing old 90s shit.
So what you're getting at
is I love the 90s.
You love the 90s.
And I really want it to come back. But it is coming back in a big way. Because
I think it's cool how now we're at the point now where the 90s feel like we're now considering the 90s like a period. Do you know what I mean?
That's exactly what I mean with the whole like Dark Phoenix thing. Like we're far enough removed
from it.
Like at this point we're almost from 1990.
We're like almost 30 years away from that.
Exactly. 2020 will be 30 years away from 1990 when you think about 30 years ago, you're like, oh yeah, 1981. Like, no, buddy, no. And then like I turned 30. I just turned 31. But like, I mean, when I turned 30, it was just like, oh my God, like it's
like when you realize like The Matrix came out in 1999, and you just like kill me.
Yeah, that's great. There was another. I can't remember what it was.
But farther in the future than Marty went.
Yeah, 2015. Yeah. There was another movie like recently that like came on or something, and it was like I think it was from 2000 and it was either 2001 or 2003, and then I realized I'm like, oh my God, we are
like beyond that.
We're almost 20 years away from that.
Right.
Something that feels fairly recent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's wild. It's bizarre. It's bizarre. So it overall that part of it is like super cool to me that we're finally seeing that the 90s as a period, but it also really sad where I'm like, Jesus, we're getting old. Yeah. And you've seen mid-90s.
Oh, the Jonah Hill one?
Yes.
I have not.
Oh.
Was it good?
It's great. That one really captures the 90s.
Where did you see it?
Like iTunes.
Oh, okay.
I just watched it on iTunes.
Cool.
I didn't see it.
Did you say it on camera?
No, I didn't see it. No, I didn't see it in theaters. No, I just like I rented it on iTunes.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, I overall I really liked it. I mean, it's like any A24 film. It's just kind of like it, A to B, and it's like one. There's no like overarching narrative.
It's kind of a slice out of somebody's life.
Exactly, it's a slice of life.
Yeah.
That's ultimately. I mean, they're when you get to the credits roll, it's kind of like, oh man, like I kind of felt like there was going to be more. Like I was left a little bit wanting.
A24 does that a lot, eh?
Yeah.
Fuck those guys. I love them so much.
So good. Like everything they do is just absolute gold, except for. Am I gonna say it?
Wait. I have to remember this.
Hereditary.
Oh, fuck you. I'm out. I'm kidding. No. Okay. Whatever. We don't.
But yeah. So I mean, Okay. So our rating system, the rating system that we've designed is going to be a scale of 0 to 5. But the 0 to 5 is based on how many The Last Jedis it's out of. So 0, meaning that it was like the best film of the year.
Bad Boys 2.
5. The Last Jedis, meaning that it was dog shit, don't watch it.
It was as bad as The Last Jedi.
Correct.
Yeah.
So
we kind of bonded over the fact that like we both hated that movie.
And we are not going to talk about that.
No.
Because it's just not worth talking about.
Yeah.
So we're going to use it for our rating system, and that's that.
Are we doing 0.5s, by the way? Can we do like a 3.5?
For sure.
Okay.
3.5 The Last Jedis out of...
I feel like I already gave away my score.
Well,
let's move on.
How many?
Well, 3.5.
You're giving it a 3.5?
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to give this a 3.5.
Wow, you must have thought it was shitty.
Wait, no, I'd have to go 2.5, wouldn't I?
Correct.
See,
so the closer... Yeah, we got to figure this out. On camera.
So I should have gone with a 3. No.
The closer to 0, the better it is.
Right.
So I'm going with 2 The Last Jedis out of 5.
The Last Jedis. So I should go
2.
No.
2.5.
I'd go 2.5 because
Okay.
it'd be a bigger... Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's going to take some doing.
No, it's
2. No, but I meant like for me to understand it.
Oh, fair enough. I devised it in my head the other day, and I was like, "This totally makes sense."
It totally makes sense, but now it's getting me confused because I need to give it a shittier score than what you gave it, but not like so much worse that like,
No, it's not that bad.
Yeah,
you're hating on it too hard.
You're doing a great job of convincing me otherwise.
Right?
Yeah.
It's really, I do you rescind your spectacularly mediocre? Did I convince you to rescind that?
I'll rescind it to mediocre because I feel like spectacularly was what made it sound even worse.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, so I'll go.
That was like, damn.
Right now, I'm at mediocre now.
Okay.
So we're at that 2.5.
Yeah, and I mean that's okay. Yeah, I mean that's halfway. So on the scale,
your job is half done. That's what it sounds like. Because it sounds like you want me to get to that too.
No, it's fine.
Okay.
No, you don't have to get to the 2. I'm already at the 2. I don't care what you.
Cool.
I don't give a shit what you
I need to go along for that.
want to do. So anyway, that was the first episode of Lincoln and Jerry Go to the Movies. So go see Captain Marvel. It's 2.5 The Last Jedi. I don't know. I really liked it. It was fun, and yeah, it was fun. Ultimately, at the end of the day, if I can walk out of the theater and go, and there was something that I could hook onto, and take away from it, ultimately,
that's all you can ask for.
We're just going to be entertained. That's ultimately at the end of the day all we're doing. We're going to be entertained. We don't have to take them too seriously. Yeah. So
I do have one point to make, and this is nothing to do with the quality of the movie or anything like that. But Marvel is just showing off now with their de-aging technology.
Like, it's disgusting.
My Lord.
Oh my! You can't even he looks like he's in Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, Sam Jackson's just like, no, that's just Sam Jackson. Like I didn't even
same
think
with Coulson.
Yeah,
it's
amazing.
It's so far past Uncanny Valley. It doesn't even look at Uncanny Valley. It's just them.
It's just them, and
it's crazy. So that's another good reason to watch it. But anyway, that's been the first episode of Lincoln and Jared Go to the Movies.
Gucci.
Please don't say Gucci.
Oh, we can't do that?
I don't know.
Okay.
I hate Gucci. Gucci. I don't know what that was.
A24. Whatever.
I don't know. Like and subscribe to the channel. And
let us know what you think in the comments.
Oh, God. Please don't.
Especially if you agree with me. Spectacularly mediocre. Do it.
I'm out.